This segment of Naperville Sports Weekly is brought to you in part by the Daily Herald.
David, we're through the indoor season. You guys have started to get outside, start to get your legs under you for some meets later this week. How you feeling about where this team is at kind of halfway through the season?
You know, I like how we look right now. We're strong. I think we've had a team that was really talented from when they were freshmen, and our seniors are really maturing, and they've figured out kind of the formula is hard work. So they stuck to it over spring break, and I think we look really good. You know, indoor was tough to gauge. We had a lot of, our last meet we had a lot of absences because of spring break, but I thought we looked good. I liked how we stacked up against the conference, and we got a lot ahead of us, but we look good at this point. So progress-wise, I'm happy with it.
What's that transition like for a team, kind of going from indoors to outdoors? You got that week in between where some people are gone, you're not getting a full practice because of spring break. I would imagine now that you got everybody back, it's kind of comforting that you guys could full speed ahead.
Yeah, it timed out really well. That spring break week was really good. We're facility-wise struggling a little bit, but we pushed as hard as we could, and then spring break gets them a chance to mentally kind of relax, and it timed out where our last meet was their last day before they left for spring break. So they all got to kind of relax and rejuvenate, still get some work in, and then they come back, and now we're like, it worked out well that now we get to say the end of indoor, spring break, here we are for outdoor.
This is your first season as head coach of the track program. I know you also assist with the cross country in the fall. What's that transition kind of been like to being the head man on the job?
You know, it was easy and it was hard. It was easy because the team already knew me. I do spend 9 months of the year with the distance guys. I don't know the sprinters, jumpers, and throwers as well as I do the distance runners, but I've still known them for 3 years. So the transition of going from just the distance coach to the head coach in terms of relationships with the guys, the teams, was pretty easy. Obviously, the transition of responsibilities is a lot more, but as far as it went with relationships between the athletes and the coaches, it was relatively smooth.
You mentioned distance here at Benet Academy on the boys' side. 11 straight conference championships when
13.
It comes to 13. Excuse me. When it comes to the cross country side, I would imagine having those players to play with once you get to the spring and figuring out the different distance events has to be pretty nice as a coach.
It is. You know, we have a really good relationship, me and the head coach for cross country, and that we like to see a progression throughout the year and on a bigger picture progression for all 4 years. So our fall really builds into our winter, which builds into our spring, and then they get some time off to kind of relax, rejuvenate, and come back for the fall again. So coming into it, I have a good idea on the distance side what the runner's already capable of doing. You know, you never know for sure, but I could ballpark most of them as to what they could run any event in, and it makes the transition a lot easier, and I know that they're strong from the fall, so it makes it easier to push them a little bit harder in the spring.
And the funny thing is, just kind of looking at some of your guys' meet results this spring and, in the indoor season as well, we saw a couple guys at the top toward cross country, but right now we're seeing some new names and some new faces on the distance side that we, really didn't see toward the top in cross country.
Yeah, we've had a couple guys really have matured, and they figured it out, whatever they needed inside of them to kind of spark that competitive mentality. They found it, whether it was knowing, being in the system for a couple years and knowing they only have a couple indoor meets to break out something good. But they've really come into their own. I know Jack Tuttle's a guy who dropped a big time on us. I think we have 6 guys who have broken 5 indoors this year, and most of them are sophomores and juniors. So it's pretty good to see those younger guys and fresher faces coming up through the ranks. They've been working hard. They definitely deserve it. But yeah, something snapped in a bunch of them, and they just went crazy on some races.
On the track side as well, when you mentioned the conference, I know the ICOPS meet was the one where just about all the SEC teams in the building, you guys finished the tops out of all of them. In the early going, I would imagine that feels you guys feel pretty good as far as a base for going forward.
Yeah, it felt good, and it gave us a good idea of where we were. Our conference is tough, and certainly we would never rest on our laurels. You know, we know Marion is a tough squad. Marist on the distance side, we haven't seen their full hand yet. And most of the teams in the conference still have a lot left to give, and just like we're progressing, they're progressing. So I think outdoor, you know, while we're happy with our result indoor in that kind of pseudo-conference meet situation, we're not taking anything for granted outdoor. We have a lot of tough teams to compete against, and anything can happen on that given day.
And we've mentioned a lot on the track so far, but in the field, you got a couple throwers that have definitely been putting up some big numbers in the shot put so far. Yeah,
it's been exciting. We have Melka and Tiznik. Both those guys knocked some big throws out. They both PR'd. I think Melka's just shy of 50. Tiznik hit his all-time PR indoors and is looking to advance that outdoors. And then I think we've got some younger guys in the discus that we're going to see in Hubona as well. Takahashi's looking good as a freshman, but I think Melka and Tiznik, I'm excited to see what they do outdoors. Those guys are strong, and Coach Cedarblad is phenomenal at getting them prepped for outdoor. They spend a lot of time on technique, but they're just turning into workhorses in the weight room too. So they're gonna do something special, I think.
Who are some of your other leaders in the field when it comes to the jumps and pole vault?
Andrew Acuff is a pole vaulter. He's a guy who went down to the Prep Top Times meet. He's looking for the school record in the pole vault and a state berth as well. We've got Michael Lang, who's our #1 long jumper this year, and a couple younger guys who are nipping at his heels. Michiroon is one in the triple and the long. He's got some good sprint speed to him too. So I think once he gets focused, he'll do something special, whether it's the track or the field. And then, kind of the star of every meet is Max Zinski. He's 5'1", and he's probably going to clear 6 foot outdoors pretty early. So anytime you see a guy jumping almost a foot over his head is pretty special. So he kind of turns into the star of the meets when it gets into jump offs.
Relays have been strong for you guys these last couple of years. I know sending a couple downstate to Charleston. A couple seniors from both of those relays move on. I would imagine competition's got to be hot for some of these guys thinking about trying to get one of those spots.
It really is. You know, our 4x4, we lost a senior after the sectional meet. He got hurt last year in the 4x4, and we filled someone in, and they still ran the fastest time they'd run all year. We had about 3 alternates that could have taken the spot on that day. Our 4x8 as well is looking to return, and I know both 4x4 and 4x8 are looking for all-state medals. We both missed out on the finals, but the 4x8 returns 3 guys from last year, and the 4x4 returns 2 guys, and I think maybe a third from the 4x8 who's going to transition over. And those guys they're hungry for that all-state medal. They want to get to the finals, and they want to come back with some hardware.
Now we're outside right now. We're obviously in Illinois, in April, so the weather's unpredictable. As a coach, kind of dealing with the weather, what are some precautions you have to take with some of these guys? I would imagine, especially with some of the sprinters and jumpers. Distance guys a lot of times are running in the cold for cross, but how do you kind of keep things fresh and avoid pulled muscles and things like that?
We just had that talk today because it looks really nice out, but once you get working a little bit and you got a little bit of sweat going, that breeze gets chilly. We stick with the idea of be over prepared if you need to be. If you don't have to pull your coat and your long pants out, great. If you do, you'll be glad you have them. We like to warm up inside, get them nice and loose. We come out for our workout and then we go right back in. We don't want to bring them out here until they're ready. So we get them nice and loose inside, bring them out. And if, we don't want to be overdressed because it's not as comfortable, but better to be overdressed and run a little slower than underdressed and pull a muscle. But we do keep track of what the guys are doing as far as if anyone's feeling tight. We'll send them in and stretch or give them a couple minutes to warm it up again.
You guys have been in the top tier when it comes to that conference meet at the end of the spring season last couple years, but have struggled to get that trophy last couple. What does this squad need to do to get back to that level?
We got to have it on that day. It's we're in a tough conference again, and there's some schools that have a lot of depth. There's a couple schools that are a little bit bigger than us. When it comes to the track squads, but we've got the talent. I think we just need to, it's really pulling it together on that day to beat all those teams in our conference. Everybody's got to have a good day. We don't have a whole lot of room for error. So we're just going to do the best we can to scratch and claw for every point we can find out there. So it's really hinging 100% on every individual being able to perform. So with that in mind, we really focus on progressing towards that point of get your rust busters out early, and let's be ready once it comes to conference meet, because the other teams are going to bring it, so we have to as well.
Well, you guys get on the outdoor track later this week. We'll let you get back to it. David, thanks for the time.
Great, thank you so much.